Picture this. You're one of the strongest creatures in the jungle. You can punch the ground so hard it creates earthquakes. And you've got biceps that could crack coconuts like peanuts. Sounds pretty sweet, right? Well, meet Donkey Kong, a gorilla whose incredible strength comes with a price tag nobody talks about. Sure, DK can barrel through enemies and swing from vine to vine like it's nothing, but living with that much raw power isn't the blessing it seems to be. Between accidentally destroying everything you touch, dealing with a metabolism that demands constant banana consumption, and being everyone's go-to guy for heavy lifting, Donkey Kong's life is a lot more complicated than those cheerful platforming adventures let on. If you've ever wondered what it's really like to be too strong for your own good, stick around. Things get a lot heavier than you'd think. Let's start with the obvious problem. Donkey Kong doesn't know his own strength, and the world around him pays the price. In Donkey Kong Country, his ground pound can shake entire platforms, crack stone, and send enemies flying. That's great for clearing a path, but imagine trying to live a normal life when every step could potentially shatter the floor beneath you. DK's not trying to cause destruction. It just happens because his body is essentially a walking wrecking ball. Think about something as simple as picking up a banana. For most creatures, it's a gentle grab-and-eat situation. For Donkey Kong, it's a careful operation where one wrong squeeze turns breakfast into mush. Those massive hands that can punch through walls aren't exactly built for delicate work. Every interaction becomes a test of restraint, and one moment of excitement or surprise could mean accidentally crushing whatever he's holding. The games show us DK casually grabbing barrels and hurling them across the screen, but they don't show us the constant anxiety that comes with being that powerful. Every handshake is a potential injury lawsuit. Every hug could crack ribs. Even something as innocent as patting Diddy Kong on the back becomes a calculated risk. DK has to live in a constant state of self-control, always holding back, always being careful not to let his natural strength slip out. And it's not just about physical objects, it's about relationships too. When you're powerful enough to accidentally hurt the people you care about, genuine affection becomes complicated. DK can't just be spontaneous or playful without considering the consequences. That enthusiastic personality we see in the games, in real life, it would have to be constantly filtered through the fear of causing harm. Every gesture, every movement, every moment of excitement has to be carefully managed. The worst part is that this isn't something DK can train away or learn to control completely. His strength is tied to his biology. Those massive muscles aren't just for show. He's built like a powerhouse, which means even his gentle is stronger than most creatures' maximum effort. There's no off switch, no way to temporarily dial down the power. DK is always operating heavy machinery, except the machinery is his own body. But if you think managing supernatural strength is tough, wait until you hear about the fuel requirements that come with it. All that power has to come from somewhere. And for Donkey Kong, the energy demands are absolutely bananas. Literally, everyone jokes about Donkey Kong's love of bananas, but let's get real about what that actually means. We're not talking about a cute preference or a fun quirk. We're talking about a biological dependency that borders on terrifying. Those muscles don't maintain themselves, and that incredible strength comes with metabolic demands that would bankrupt a grocery store. In Donkey Kong Country, DK collects hundreds of bananas per level, and the games treat it like a fun collectible. But think about what that means in practical terms. A gorilla DK's size, with his level of muscle mass and activity, would need an absolutely staggering amount of food just to function. We're talking about consumption levels that go way beyond normal eating, and into the realm of constant, never-ending hunger. DK doesn't snack on bananas. He devours them by the truckload, and he has to, or his body starts shutting down. The games show DK as energetic and bouncy, but that's probably the result of a carefully maintained sugar high. Bananas are packed with natural sugars and potassium, which makes them perfect for quick energy, but they're also fast-burning fuel. DK would need to eat constantly just to keep his energy levels stable. Miss a meal, and suddenly that cheerful gorilla becomes a hangry, 800-pound problem looking for the nearest banana horde. And let's talk about what happens when the supply runs out. In Donkey Kong Country Returns, the plot literally revolves around the Tiki Talk tribe stealing DK's banana horde, and his response is to tear through 8 worlds of enemies to get them back. That's not just attachment to a favorite snack. That's survival instinct. Without those bananas, DK's body would start cannibalizing his own muscle mass for energy. The cheerful adventure we see in the games is actually a desperate race against starvation. The constant need for bananas also means DK can never really relax. Other characters can take breaks, explore at their own pace, maybe sit down for a while. DK's always on the clock, always thinking about where the next meal is coming from. That carefree swinging through the trees, It's actually high-intensity cardio that burns through calories like crazy, which means even more bananas needed just to break even. But here's the really dark part. What happens in banana shortages? If DK's entire ecosystem depends on a steady supply of one specific fruit, then droughts, diseases, or seasonal changes could turn into life-threatening emergencies. The games never show us DK during the off-season, but the reality would be a massive, increasingly desperate gorilla watching his food supply dwindle and knowing that his own body is working against him. So while collecting bananas looks fun and innocent in the games, the reality is that DK lives in constant fear of running out of the one thing keeping him alive. That's not a cute character trait. It's a survival horror scenario wrapped in bright, colorful packaging. And if you think the physical demands are rough, just wait until you see what everyone expects DK to do with all that strength. Turns out, being the strongest guy in the jungle comes with a job description nobody asked for. Being the strongest creature in Donkey Kong Island sounds awesome until you realize what that actually means day to day. You become everyone's first call when something heavy needs moving. DK isn't just dealing with his own adventures. He's the unofficial moving company, construction crew, and emergency response team for the entire jungle. Got a boulder blocking the path? Call DK. Need to rebuild after King K. Rool's latest attack? DK's your gorilla. It's not a choice. It's an expectation built into his reputation. The games show this constantly. In Donkey Kong Country, DK is always the one breaking through walls, moving massive objects, and clearing paths for smaller characters. But what the games don't show is the psychological weight of being indispensable. DK can never say no, because if he doesn't help, nobody else can do the job. That's not heroism. That's being trapped by your own abilities. Every crisis becomes his responsibility, whether he wants it or not. Think about what this means for DK's personal time. While other characters get to relax, explore, or pursue their own interests, DK is always on call. Diddy Kong wants to check out a new area, but there's a heavy gate in the way. Guess who's dropping everything to come lift it? Cranky Kong needs help rearranging his cabin? Better call the gorilla with the biceps. DK's schedule isn't his own. It belongs to whoever needs something moved, broken, or fixed. And it's not just the physical labor. It's the assumption that he should be grateful for the opportunity to help. After all, he's strong. So this stuff should be easy for him, right? Wrong. Even with incredible strength, moving massive objects all day is exhausting work. DK might make it look effortless, but his body still feels the strain. The difference is that nobody expects him to complain about it because that's what he's good at. The worst part is that DK's strength makes him the default solution to problems that shouldn't be his to solve. Bridge washed out? Don't rebuild it properly. Just have DK throw some logs across the gap. Need to get to a high platform? Forget building stairs. DK can just punch some handholds into the cliff face. His abilities become an excuse for everyone else to avoid finding better, more permanent solutions. DK isn't just helping. He's enabling a whole community to become dependent on his labor. This creates a cycle where DK can never truly take a break. If he stops helping, things start falling apart, literally. The paths he clears get blocked again. The structures he builds need maintenance, and the problems he solves keep coming back. His strength doesn't just make him useful, it makes him essential, which means his freedom disappears under the weight of everyone else's expectations. But maybe the most troubling aspect of DK's situation isn't what he has to do. It's what he never gets to be. When you're always defined by your strength, when every relationship revolves around what you can lift or break, it becomes almost impossible for people to see you as anything else. Here's the thing about being Donkey Kong that nobody talks about. Underneath all that muscle and bravado, he's carrying a weight that has nothing to do with physical strength. When you're always the strongest, always the one everyone counts on, you never get to be vulnerable. You never get to admit you're tired, scared, or just want someone else to handle things for once. DK's strength isn't just his superpower, it's his prison. The games portray DK as endlessly confident and ready for action. But think about the pressure that comes with being everyone's solution to everything. When King K. Rool attacks, when the banana horde gets stolen, when natural disasters hit the island, DK is expected to fix it all, not because he wants to, but because he's the only one who can. That level of responsibility would crush most people, but DK has to carry it with a smile because that's what heroes do. And here's the really heartbreaking part. DK probably doesn't even know who he is outside of his strength. His entire identity is built around what he can do for others. He's Donkey Kong the protector, the heavy lifter, the problem solver. But who is he when nobody needs anything moved? What are his dreams, his fears, his personal goals? The games never explore this because DK's inner life doesn't matter. Only his output does. The worst part is that DK's situation is entirely self-perpetuating. Every time he helps, every problem he solves, every crisis he handles, just reinforces the idea that he's the go-to gorilla for impossible tasks. He can't show weakness without letting everyone down, and he can't stop helping without watching his community fall apart. It's a heroic trap that he can never escape, because the very qualities that make him special are the same ones that make him indispensable. So while we see DK swinging through the trees with that characteristic grin, the reality is probably a lot lonelier. He's surrounded by friends who need him, family who depends on him, and a whole island that can't function without him. But when was the last time someone asked how DK was doing? Not as a hero or a problem solver, but just as himself. Living as Donkey Kong means trading personal freedom for endless responsibility, quiet moments for constant demands, and genuine relationships for functional ones. That incredible strength comes with a price tag most of us couldn't handle. Being too important to ever take a real break, too powerful to ever be careless, and too needed to ever just be yourself. Sure, DK's got muscles that could move mountains and a reputation that spans decades of gaming, but that spotlight comes with chains most of us wouldn't want to wear. And trust me, DK's not the only character whose greatest strength is also their biggest burden. There are plenty of other heroes just trying to find a moment of peace between crises. So would you trade all that power for the chance to be ordinary, even for just one day? If you've ever felt the weight of everyone's expectations, hit that like button and let us know in the comments which character you'd want us to cover next. Subscribe to see why being the hero isn't always as heroic as it looks.